Hi, this is the third assessment video for MGT584, and it's for your group Pekakushka presentation. So there are 4 assessment items in this subject. This is about the third one, which is your Pekakushka, which is due on the 18th of September. So I will provide you with feedback on this before the 14th of October. I want you all to present the week after the 18th of September, and there'll be 2 different sessions for you to present in. For you to perform and observe leadership in this virtual team, it's really important at the outset you set yourself up with a meaningful shared goal, and we'll discuss this when we meet as a group. So your task is to produce a short presentation about leadership practices in teams and group dynamics. But as such, it's not so much about producing a polished presentation. It's more about the journey that you're going on. So you're going to be reporting on that journey, your experience. So you want to be looking at, well, what do you want the group to look at? What do you want the team to look like at the end of this journey? And what's the experience that you want to have? So it's not just a task, in other words, where people will contribute to a lesser or greater extent. It's really about that learning experience and the group process that is enacted in preparing the presentation. So the more time you spend observing, shaping and reflecting on the group dynamics and the leadership practices that you enact, so look at yourself as well and others are enacting, the richer your individual and collective learning experiences on which you can report in this presentation, but also in your final assessment 4. Now you can submit, if you're having problems submitting the Pekakushka through East, I'm happy for you to email me and we'll work out some other way, or you can just submit a Word document with the URL link to YouTube or Google Docs or whatever. So there is a step-by-step guide under the A3 link. So there's details here, and as I said, they're also under A3. The theme of your presentation you'll be responding to what contemporary lessons about leadership and teams can be learned from a comprehensive study of the movie 12 Angry Men, which is interesting because this movie was produced, very early movie in the 1950s, but it's still very relevant today, and there's lots of different layers in this movie. And why we chose this was because I'll explain in a minute why we chose this one. So when you are at the stage to focus in on the task, having completed the settling of the group, watch the movie, which was 1957, there you go, and read the article on facilitation on chapter 3, page 28 in this reading. So Jantz, Crossman, Campbell and Power actually used this in their own work for people to actually analyse a film and to actually learn more about teams and facilitation approaches, group dynamics, etc. So it's a very good exercise, and it's a very going to that reading will really help you as well. The movie can also be accessed through Netflix, or you can purchase it at low cost through iTunes or as a DVD from JB Hi-Fi. I'm not advertising anything. You can go to wherever you want to go to get it. Okay? So make sure you facilitate your discussion using these questions, which come from Janetz et al. What is your overall evaluation of the functioning of the jurors in 12 Angry Men? What were the strengths and weaknesses of the group? What is your evaluation of the jury foreman in facilitating the decision-making process of the jury? So what were his strengths and his weaknesses? The foreman is actually one of the 12 jury members. At times he plays a leader-like role, at other times he is facilitative. Think of examples when he's doing both or either. Should he play both? Why or why not? We all have our views on this. And it depends on what you perceive as a leader and what you perceive as a facilitator. If you were the jury foreman, what would you have done to enhance the effectiveness of the jury? So be specific and action-oriented about this. And how have the group dynamics in this movie similar to teams in real-world organisations? Think about some of the issues that you've had in your own team. Think about some of the different layers of group dynamics. Think about the diversity in the group. Think about the mix of the group. Think about the diversity and mix of your group. Think about your differences. Think about your similarities. So completing this table is a really useful way of framing what you're seeing. So these are dysfunctional behaviours. So you actually start to unpack and see some dysfunctional behaviours in teams by actually undertaking this table. You can do this collectively in a meeting, or you can do it each and then populate the table on Google Docs and then have a discussion afterwards. That might be the best way, whatever. But it's really important because you can see all of these things play out in teams, and they can lead to really teams just imploding, basically. So the second step is to then go back to the movie. So that's the first analysis. That's your deeper analysis, okay? And then you find out more data about the movie that'll inform your final presentation. Your final presentation doesn't have to be structured with those questions and those dysfunctional those exercises provide you with data for that presentation. Revisit the movie to explore other lessons you might identify. So you might want to think of other lessons about communication, decision-making, conflict resolution, or diversity, as I mentioned before. And these things are discussed in your subject topics. Again, set up and engage in a discussion that will draw on contributions of all team members, exploring lessons that can be drawn and how in detail these are illustrated in the movie. So draw together all this data, all of your work, making sure you link the relevant theory. So I want to see the theory, and that'll be in your last slide, and start to shape the content for your presentation based on the story you will be wanting to tell. So you're going to be telling a story about the movie, but also in the context of your own collective learning journey. And you'll say some more about your own learning journey in your fourth assessment. So this last step is to plan and produce your presentation, obviously. So we'll have 2 sessions, as I said, the week after submission. You'll prepare a modified PK. It's only 7 minutes and 13 slides, so it's only 7 minutes and 13 slides, not like a 20 by 20 traditional Pakushka. It's communicating you need to communicate in engaging yet scholarly style contemporary lessons about leadership and teams that you argue can be learned from a comprehensive study of this movie. So see below under presentation for more information on Pakushka. But note, the tips provided by the Academic Learning Skills Advisor in your online session on the 22nd, Wednesday the 22nd of July, will really be useful as well. You have the freedom to design the presentation to engage your audience and communicate the story the way you want to tell and provide your own unique perspective. You should, however, address the following areas when preparing your presentation, so think about addressing these. You need to have an introduction to set the scene for the discussion that you're going to follow. You're going to provide a range of leadership and team issues that you highlight, commentary that reflects an understanding or relevant theory, that should say of relevant theory, that underpins the concepts and issues you are talking about. Commentary that reflects intensive engagement with the movie. Discussion of lessons that you can take forward into your own leadership practice and work in teams. This is very important. How do I take this theory? How do I take this learning and the relevant theory back into my own practice and my experience and engagement in teams? So this offers a chance for multiple voices within the presentation and diversity of opinion. So you mightn't agree on some of these things. You can put those different things in. It's a conversation. It doesn't have to be consensus because we all look at things in different perspectives. It's an expectation that all of the members of the team will contribute to the production. And look, it'll tell when in the fourth assessment if you haven't contributed. You'll have nothing to write about. So what is a PK? The first thing is keep it simple. It's mostly pictures. So we've all suffered by deaf from PowerPoint, which you're doing with me now. This is different, okay? It means chit-chat in Japanese, and it emanated from in a bar in Japan. And PKs are often held in bars or other social venues with the aim being as much to inspire as to inform. So it's very quick, very engaging. You can read more about it at this link, but there are so many other online sites about it. But the key thing is forget about all the words, mainly do pictures, have a script underneath in the notes, have your story underneath that. And, you know, you might have a picture in this, keep it simple, you've got Marilyn Monroe. So you might just have a picture of Marilyn Monroe. What does that mean? And then you can say, well, Marilyn Monroe was a famous, actress in the 1950s and 60s and blah, blah, blah. And then you go to the next slide or whatever. Just be aware that your format, number of slides and timing of each is different from a standard PK. So 13 slides, 30 seconds each. So stick to this. Don't try and average across multiple slides. Keep to that. You have fewer slides with each longer duration. You can include a 14th slide for referencing, and you should include a 14th slide. Whilst you will be presenting this, please also do a voiceover. Okay, so you can learn how to do that with you use your microphone. So you're set to automatically advance for a continuous presentation of each 30 seconds, so you can do that as well. You'll need to be very selective in what you report on given the timing constraints, so think carefully about what you think is most important to share. This is the marking criteria. Always go back to this. So you're expected to identify and present a range of collective leadership and team issues. Okay? That's really important. That's the most important thing. And reflect on the learning experiences and collective impact in team and application to your own practice. So what were the learning experiences and collective impact of your team and also of the team in the film? And how do these relate to your own practice? So I'll also be marking you on the presentation, the imagination of the presentation. Normally I get very good presentations, but you'll also be assessed when you present to other peers as well. So this is really important because this is the engagement. This is where you actually shine and you show that you actually understand what you're talking about and you've spent a lot of time to get this into a really succinct and meaningful format. If you have any questions, post them to the assessment forum, and I could have not progressed that, or send me an email and I will repurpose them to that for the benefit of your peers. And I will be sharing this also with your team meetings and discussing this with you then. So thank you for listening, and assessment 4 will be coming soon.